We're learning more about the U.S. drone strike that killed an al-Qaeda leader who helped plan 9/11. President Biden says Ayman al-Zawahiri was tracked to a fairly opulent home in downtown Kabul where he was hiding with his family when the strike was carried out by the CIA. Al-Zawahiri acted as Osama Bin Laden's deputy for more than a decade and became al-Qaeda's leader after Bin Laden was killed by Navy SEALs back in 2011. I'm joined now by CBS senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge there in our D.C. bureau. Catherine, one of the big details people are kind of digesting now is that the terror attacks were more than 2 decades ago. We've been told al-Qaeda and its offshoots have been weakened and diminished since. But give us a bit of a reality check. What is the current threat level al-Qaeda poses to U.S. national security, and how big of a threat was Zawahiri before he was killed?
Well, the White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, in a round of appearances earlier today, described Zawahiri as an active strategic threat to U.S. national security, someone who was very involved in setting the direction of the operations. And what's important here, Errol, is if you think back a decade when Zawahiri took control of the al-Qaeda franchise, he really went deep into hiding. There were rumors swirling that he was dead, yet here he is, less than a year after the U.S. withdrew from Afghanistan, feeling so emboldened that he's living in a safe house in downtown Kabul, a part of the city I know from my reporting is just a stone's throw from the former U.S. Embassy as well as the presidential palace. So I think it really encapsulates how al-Qaeda and its leadership has been very resilient over the years, but I think in the last year, since the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, really emboldened in this partnership with the Taliban.
And that makes it seem as if al-Zawahiri was almost in plain sight in Kabul. Since the Taliban resumed control of the country in the wake of the U.S.'s chaotic withdrawal, putting it mildly, what's the current tally of U.S. intelligence assets in the region?
Well, in this particular case, based on my reporting here at CBS News, intelligence officials used a technique called layering. And in simple terms, that means they take signals intelligence, so the communications of a target or those family members around them, and they couple that with aerial surveillance from drones so that they can establish a pattern of life. In this case, they came to understand that the al-Qaeda leader would often go to a balcony at a certain type of day. That helps them develop a target set, and they had enough strong intelligence to be able to build a model of that safe house for President Biden to review and assess the risk and also assess the target itself and whether they could limit collateral damage in this case. The downside of this kind of over-the-horizon intelligence collection, that's sort of the technical term for it, is that you don't have that sort of crisp, real-time intelligence from human sources on the ground. You can have intelligence from human sources which may be somewhat dated or not quite immediate. And that's a problem because it's from that kind of really core intelligence that you set the parameters and the agenda for, for aerial surveillance, for drones and other types of collection. So the bottom line, this over-the-horizon intelligence collection really worked in this case, but it's much more challenging than having humans or boots on the ground to gather information for you.
But Catherine, you're getting me thinking, because if there was this over-the-horizon type of intelligence, because you don't have the immediate assets in the city, what's the flip side of that? What was the relationship between al-Zawahiri and the Taliban, considering
you can't really hide in plain sight, I'll put it. You feel very secure, very emboldened, and what that suggests, and this is coming from my military intelligence contacts, is that this relationship between al-Qaeda and the Taliban is strong, and it may have remained strong for years, long enough that once the U.S. left Afghanistan, he felt he could come back into the capital and begin to really resume his operations in earnest. So it tells us the relationship which we invested so much capital, not only sort of weapons, money, but human capital to break apart after 9/11, to wipe out Taliban control and negate the safe haven. It really appears like this partnership has been able to survive and really sort of flourish in this post-U.S. withdrawal period in Afghanistan.
Despite the more than, $1 trillion the U.S. government has put towards its quote-unquote war on terror, a really stunning assessment. Thanks for helping us digest it all, Catherine Herridge.